If you're not interested in the story, jump to 3 minutes and 10 seconds. That's where the surfing starts.
Hi and welcome to No Second Season, and thank you for joining me. Today is the 25th of April, and the 25th of April in Australia is known as Anzac Day, the Australia and New Zealand Army Corps. And it's where we remember all the Australians and New Zealanders that had served in the armed forces. It's a public holiday here, and it's Thursday. My boss kindly gave us Friday as well. So I have 4 days in this, what is the end of the first third of autumn here in New South Wales. It's only 5 o'clock, but the sun is just about down. It will be dark very soon, I would imagine, by 6:30 definitely. So I've come to Gerroa, where I've been before surfing. I've come here because the surf is best for me. Well, I hope it is. Of the options I've looked at over the next 3 days, 7 Mile Beach, Gerroa is mostly fair. Right, now I need to decide if I'm going to settle in for the night here, have something to eat, and then get up and get on that beach in the morning. Morning. I didn't get disturbed. It's around 6:30, and it's a bit chilly. I want to stay nice and warm in my sleeping bag, but I better get up and get some breakfast. I was camping along this coastline here, just beyond the bushland. I've driven up to Gerroa headland because the sun's round here and it's not down there. It's absolutely stunning. A massive basalt shelf this headland is sitting on. In the distance there's some national parks. I think it's Budaroo National Park, and I think possibly some of the Illawarra escarpment. Very, very scenic. You may have noticed I've got myself a little fridge. It's only small, I think it's 18 litre. It's a bingy or bingy, not sure how you pronounce it. $199 off Amazon. It's not too big. It's not like I have many perishables, but yeah, really pleased with it. And the good thing is the slots just under my bed like that. I have a lead I can plug in. I'm just about to surf for the first time in 3 months. I feel a bit nervous. Let's give it a go.
And so I walked off into the ocean with high expectations of picking up where I left off last time I surfed 3 months ago. But that wasn't to be. I kept doing this, standing to the left of the board and being totally unbalanced. There was definitely something else going on, and it's taken me 2 weeks since my trip of watching my videos to realise what it was. I was trying to get up too quick without my hands on the board. That is why I was so rubbish. I was all over the place, and I kept doing this. I kept getting tangled in my leash. It was really causing me a problem. One thing that's really good is that chicken wings now comes naturally, although you can see I grabbed the rails to push myself back a bit on the board so I don't nosedive. I took some really big hits with the board going full scorpion, and you hit the water hard and fast when that happens. Perhaps again I was just trying to ride everything, and I was rushing and panicking because this would happen. I'd get a great wave, but I just couldn't stand up, and I'd ride in on my knees. I did this a few times. I found it really hard to judge where I should be on the board, further forward or further back, and this time you can see I'm trying to get up way too far back, I think, and I just off all over the back. The wind was changing direction quite often this morning, and it was quite difficult out there, but still there were some good waves. I need to get better at paddling and getting straight up. My board's heavy and it needs a nice strong wave to really get a push on it. I needed to paddle and get up now. Missed it. By now the sea had got quite rough. I'd lost my cap in a big nosedive. The board went full scorpion, flicked me over the top. And you can see here that I take another nosedive. The front tucks under and flicks me off. The nosedives were coming thick and fast at this time. You can see here I try and shuffle back a bit. Too late, I'm over the top. By now I'd probably had 20 to 30 falls, but it didn't matter because I was still smiling and still absolutely loving it. Again, I'd be trying to ride anything. These obviously aren't suitable, but I was really keen to start understanding how to angle my board, and I was trying to understand the waves, but as you see, these just broke and dumped you. Playing on these waves is good experience. They're not the greatest waves, but getting in the right position so the front doesn't tuck under and I get up in the right position, like then the front went under so I get further back. Now I'm too far back, so it was impossible to get up. Just playing about, it's just good experience. I spent 3 hours in the ocean this morning, and I did get the odd stand up, but I was pretty well off centre and wibbly wobbly, but still I loved it. The falls come thick and fast still, and would you believe it, I found my hat, my cap washed up on the beach, which was good news.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, thereabouts, and I've driven to Wherry Beach. Now, everyone I spoke to at Gerroa said this isn't the day to be surfing, and so I'm looking at this one. It's 5 kilometres north of Gerroa, just round the headland.
The waves looked quite big here, and too big for me, and apparently the water was deep, perhaps a couple of metres. All the surfers were queuing up out the back, as you can see. I'm not advanced enough to be playing with them, so I didn't go in at all. And do you know what? I've got a really low boredom threshold, and I can't ever see me sitting out there waiting for my turn, because this is like a queue. They all know what they're doing and whose turn it is to get on the wave. But I can't see myself queuing up to get a wave. Perhaps I'll change my mind once I get better, just if you have to get a good wave, but I can't see it.
I guess this is part of surfing, because people are scrapping about in their vans with their surfboards strapped to them from beach to beach, trying to find somewhere A, not crowded, B, with decent waves. Yeah, dodgy conditions today, such a shame. I may go back to 7 Mile Beach, to Gerroa, and just take what it is. At least I'm safe there.
So as the sun was going down, I returned to 7 Mile Beach at Gerroa and went back out into the ocean. It really wasn't the right conditions. The waves were coming from all directions, sometimes from the left and the right, all at once, forming a very strange pattern in the water. I know seasoned surfers will be laughing at me, saying, you know, beginners try and ride everything. Well, yeah, I don't care. I enjoy it, and I think it's all good learning and understanding the ocean. 6 weeks before this, I had a fall. I fell onto my chest and my knees, and I really did injure my chest. And I couldn't exercise, stretch or do yoga at all before this trip. So for 6 weeks I'd done nothing. So being stiff could have been one problem. Another could be that my right knee is still quite bad, and it hurts most when I lie down on my front, and obviously lying on my board and having to get up was hurting quite a bit. It's not an excuse because I forgot all about it while I was surfing, but as soon as I stopped, I knew it was hurting. So I spent the evening, as the sun went down, just playing about in the water, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I found this bucket in the water. It wasn't a good thing to land on in the shallows, so I just chucked that out of the ocean. Also, I was quite aware that I was the only person out in the ocean at that time in this area, and that if there were any sharks about, I'd be the only meal. So I was feeling a little bit frightened. I was thinking about getting one of those shark bands transmitters that you can strap onto your wrist or your leg, that keeps sharks away. So if anyone knows anything about them and whether they think they actually work and are worth getting, perhaps you could let me know in the comments. Also, does anyone know if they can interfere with whales navigation? Because I wouldn't want to use one if it's going to cause whales to beach. I got quite a few runs in. They were all very short, like this one, but I did enjoy myself. Now, if you can see anything that I'm doing wrong, perhaps you'd like to comment. I'd love some constructive criticism. I called that my last run because it was quite enjoyable. Returned to the beach where there was a nice little furry friend having an evening snack.
Morning. It's Saturday morning. I just started the car to get a bit of heat in here. It's 7 o'clock. I know I'm supposed to be out surfing. The surf's best between 6 and 9 here today. There's no chance I'm going to be out that early. Funny thing on the way up here, I stopped at a rest area to do a wee, and the toilets were really stinky and horrible. It was like a metal room divided into two with a big metal door on each, and I went in there. It was really stinky and horrid, and as I came out I didn't really want to touch the door, so I pinched it with 2 fingers and just flung it, not realising it was a really flimsy door. It didn't have any resistance on it at all, and as I flung it, it hit the wall of the other room, the other cubicle, and all I heard was this, what did he say, something like, for effing Jesus' sake or something. He shouted at the top of his voice, this man. I scared him to death. And he said, oh gosh, I'm so sorry for swearing. He said, that scared the hell out of me. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, I banged it, I didn't realise it was floppy. But yeah, I don't know what had happened in there. Perhaps he weed all over the place. I don't know. Anyway, it was funny, but not funny. It had to be there. Right, so it's 7 o'clock. I'm gonna drive somewhere, get breakfast, and then I get in the ocean. My wetsuit is wet though. I don't like getting in a wet wetsuit. I suppose I've got to get used to it. Anyway, let's get going for the day.
Oh my word, start as you mean to go on. This looks like a decent wave just coming now. I don't know whether I missed it or there was just no push. But they're the sort of waves I want to be riding. My next learning phase is to start riding along the wave, especially green waves, the ones that aren't white water. Watching from the shore, I can see a wave is breaking either to the left or the right, and which way I should angle myself. But as soon as I get in the ocean, I'm just totally lost. I don't know what to do. So perhaps I need to get some coaching for my next stage of learning. I was spending quite a bit of time getting spat off the board, particularly when it was nosediving and going full scorpion and just chucking me down into the waves. It's actually quite unpleasant when that happens, especially if you're in the shallows, because you hit the sand pretty hard. I've identified another problem, and that's the problem of me staying up once I'm up, is my foot being at 90 degrees. It needs to be more like, in this run, at 45 degrees, so my leg can actually damp all the rocking of the board. It's an absolute revelation to me why I couldn't get up doing this, trying to get up with no hands. I can't believe it. I got out into the ocean around 8:30 this morning, and now it was getting on for 12 o'clock and the surf was getting a lot worse. It was very turbulent. Another reason I keep surfing when the conditions aren't really suitable is that I'm so far away from home. I don't get many opportunities to surf, so I just want to take every chance I can, and if it means 24s for one ride in, so be it. So far in the last day or so, I'd spent 8 hours surfing and I was getting quite tired, so I decided that I wouldn't surf that evening and that I'd drive further down the coast, down south, where the conditions were shown on the apps as being a bit more favourable. One thing I realised when I got out of the ocean after this session was that my zip was coming undone again on my wetsuit. So it was full of water, making me very heavy and possibly stopping me getting up as easily as I should be able to. So I need to do something about that, and I did the next day. I had a great little wild camp at Marmot. There was a beautiful full moon rising across the ocean at night, and this morning I woke up to this beautiful sunrise, just stunning. I had a nice lazy breakfast in view of this beautiful sunrise. I had a look at the ocean and the forecasts, and Marmot wasn't going to be any good for surfing on this day. It was virtually flat, so I decided to drive even further south to where I know well, Brawley.
So I've driven 50 kilometres south along the coast. I'm here at North Brawley Beach. The rating is poor, but at least I know this break, and hopefully I'll get some rides in.
It didn't go so well, nincompoop, but it did get better. So on this beach I was much further, looking at the ocean, to the left of North Brawley Beach this time, and the waves got better and better, even though the forecast was poor. It was at this point, on my last day of surfing, that I realised I'd done no exercise and no stretching for 6 weeks. So I did a little routine on the beach, hoping it would give me a little bit more flexibility and help getting up. The strength of the Brawley waves tend to be weaker than those at Gerroa, and I did suffer from the mysterious disappearing waves quite often this day. I'd been planning to leave Brawley at 1 p.m, but I actually went over that, not by much. I think I eventually left at about 1:30, 2 o'clock. I had around 4 hours in the ocean, and eventually, it took time, but eventually I got my mojo back and I was kind of back to where I was. I am doing chicken wings and my positioning was better, and I did loosen up on the board, and also I did a few small turns, I mean tiny minute ones. I'm still not free and loose enough on the board to move about, but I did move a little bit. And perhaps on reflection I shouldn't go to Gerroa where the ride-ins are really short, so you don't have time to think. I should come here where they're a little longer and a little gentler, and learn on these and then aim for something more difficult. I'm still confused about angling my board along the wave. I don't know why it confuses me so much, but it does. Perhaps I'll get a lesson with Joey or Tim at Brawley and ask for some specific help on that subject. But I was a lot happier after I'd ridden here. I felt like I'd got my mojo back. This is the last run of this trip. It's a shame it's taken me 2 weeks of watching these videos over and over to discover why I couldn't get up and carry on from where I'd left off, but still it's encouraging and I've got lots to work on. I'm pleased that I do chicken wings naturally now, and following are 10 points I'm going to be working on next time I'm out. Number 1, try and learn more about the ocean conditions and not just go by the overview of the surfing apps. Using the overview of the Surfline app really didn't give me an indication of the true conditions as I understood them, being someone who is not very knowledgeable. Likewise, when I come to look at the Surf Forecast app for Brawley, it was saying by the time I got there that it was a 1 or a 0 when it was actually good. Number 2 is to make sure I'm fit enough to go surfing. Even if I'm injured, I still need to do stretching and work around that injury if I'm going to surf with it. Definitely not stretching had held me back a little bit. Number 3, I need to practice placing my feet in the centre without looking. I'll practice that in my living room. Number 4 is that I need to make sure my leash is really tight on my leg, facing outwards, because I fell quite a few times by being tangled in it. Number 5, and probably if I do nothing else, I must remember this, not to try and get up without my hands on the board. I don't know where I got that bad habit from, but it really spoilt this weekend. Number 6, I think the second most important one, is do not have my foot at 90 degrees to the board. It needs to be 45. Number 7 is to research nosediving. I really need to stop doing this. I don't know if it means getting a shorter board, but I need to investigate. Number 8, so I'm a bit more static on the board when I'm laying down and not moving side to side, is wax my board. I've now bought some for a soft board and I shall be waxing next time I'm out. Number 9, when I get a great wave like this, I need to really concentrate on paddle, paddle, paddle up, not having a cup of tea and a biscuit, thinking about getting up, messing around. I need to get up. And number 10, so basic, make sure my wetsuit is done up. There are 2 Velcro closures and I need to make sure the one specific for the zip pull is done up tight. It really does make a difference having a few kilos of water in your wetsuit. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or got anything useful from it, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And also, if you haven't subscribed, it would be great if you would think about doing that. I splashed some water on my sandy self and my surfboard, and then I did the 6-hour drive home. I didn't actually get home till about 8 o'clock at night. And I have now bought myself a little beachside shower.
Cha-cha-cha. 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 Apprenons le cha-cha-cha.
Le cha-cha-cha d'origine cubaine est un mambo que l'on joue sur un rythme lent. Nous commençons par l'étude du pas de base, le va-et-vient. Le va-et-vient.
Apprenons le cha-cha-cha. Apprenons le cha-cha-cha.